Welcome to the Althistory channel. If you are passionate about a world where history takes unexpected turns, then you have come to the right place. Before we dive into our next fascinating story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click on like to support us. Are you ready to embark on an amazing journey where history has taken a completely different turn? Then let's get started. Part 1. An Unusual Beginning. The city was frozen in anticipation of the new year. The streets were decorated with twinkling lights, and the sounds of fun and laughter came from every window. But something was wrong this year, something that Maya, a young journalist at a local newspaper, immediately sensed. On the night of January 1st, when the clock struck midnight, the whole city exploded with fireworks and cheers. But when Maya woke up in the morning, she found that the calendar was still showing December 31st. At first, she thought it was just a mistake or a joke, but soon realized that it wasn't. Rumors spread throughout the city that something strange was happening with time. People said that no matter how much time passes, the calendar invariably shows December 31st. Maya, having a journalistic curiosity, decided to look into this. She began collecting information by wandering the streets of the city and talking to people. Many were cheerful and enjoyed the endless celebration, but some expressed concern. Maya felt that there was more to this phenomenon than just an oddity or anomaly. By evening, she had gathered enough information to begin her investigation. She decided to start with the local astronomical observatory, where, according to rumors, scientists have already noticed unusual deviations in the movement of celestial bodies. Arriving at the observatory, Maya met Professor Lee, an old astronomer, who took great interest in her story. "I think we have more than just a calendar error," he said, leading her to a huge telescope. "Take a look for yourself." Maya approached the telescope and saw something incredible. The stars and planets lined up in a strange configuration that she had never seen before. Professor Lee explained that this could be a sign of a cosmic phenomenon that somehow affects the passage of time on Earth. "We have to explore this," Maya said, feeling like she was on the verge of the biggest story of her life. Part 2. Riddles in the Stars. At the observatory, Professor Lee and Maya immersed themselves in an in-depth study of astronomical data. Their analysis showed that the strange configuration of the stars began exactly on the night when the whole world celebrated the new year. Some planets and stars lined up in a rare line, creating an effect that could affect the perception of time on Earth. Maya noticed that there was a pattern in the data that resembled ancient astrological symbols. This prompted her to visit the local historical museum to learn more about the connection between astronomy and astrology in different cultures. At the museum, she met Dr. Ava, an expert on ancient history and mythology. After Maya shared her observations, Dr. Ava suggested looking at ancient manuscripts and artifacts related to time and calendars. They found that in many ancient civilizations, there were legends about eternal December, a period when time stops, foreshadowing great changes or even the end of the world. After returning to the editorial office, Maya began to compose an article in which she combined astronomical phenomena with ancient myths. She felt that she was on the right track, but she still lacked a key element that could explain exactly how these events were related to the time stop. Meanwhile, anxiety was growing in the city. People began to notice that despite the eternal celebration, they were getting tired of the endless fun. Maya felt that time was working against her, and she had to find answers as soon as possible. That night, sitting in her apartment and going over her notes, Maya suddenly realized that the answer could lie in the celebration of the new year itself. She recalled the ancient custom of saying goodbye to the old year and meeting the new one, symbolizing renewal and the beginning of a new cycle. With this thought in mind, Maya went back to the observatory to discuss her idea with Professor Lee. Together, they began to explore whether a combination of astronomical events and ancient rituals could have created a time loop in which the city was stuck. Part 3. The Time Loop. At the observatory, Maya and Professor Lee worked together, analyzing all possible aspects of the astronomical event and the ancient traditions associated with it. Maya realized that, in order to solve the mystery of eternal December, she needed to understand how ancient rituals and modern scientific knowledge can interact. They began to study ancient calendars and discovered that, in some civilizations, there were special days when time seemed to stop to mark the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. Professor Lee suggested that a rare astronomical configuration could activate an ancient mechanism that affects the perception of time. Maya started collecting stories from the residents of the city about how they experienced this endless new year. Some said they felt like they were in a dream, while others said that time passed differently, more slowly or quickly. These stories gave Maya an understanding of how much the psychological perception of time depends on cultural and personal expectations. Meanwhile, Professor Lee continued his astronomical research. He revealed that some stars and planets are beginning to return to their usual positions, which may mean that the time anomaly will end soon. However, he needed to establish exactly when this would happen and what consequences it might have. Maya decided to perform her own ritual action on New Year's Eve to see if she could thereby influence the time loop. She invited the residents of the city to join her to celebrate the ceremony of saying goodbye to the old year and welcoming the new one together. Her idea was to create a collective intention to break the time loop and return to the normal flow of days. At the appointed hour, when the clock was supposed to strike midnight, the whole city gathered in the main square. Maya stood in the center of the crowd, holding in her hands the ancient symbols of time, an hourglass. When the moment came, she turned them over, and the whole crowd began counting down the last seconds of the old year with one voice. Part 4. The Return of Time. When the last second of the old year disappeared, silence fell. Everyone held their breath, waiting for something incredible. Maya, standing in the center of the crowd, felt the tension in the air. And then, as if by magic, the sky above the city burst into bright colors of fireworks, and the clock on the city tower struck midnight. This time they showed the 1st of January. The people around burst into applause and cheers. Everyone hugged each other, wishing each other a happy new year. Maya felt great relief and joy. She looked at Professor Lee, who was smiling at her through tears of happiness. Over the next few days, the city slowly returned to normal life. People who had previously been engrossed in eternal celebration now appreciated every moment. Maya wrote an article about her experiences and research, which was published in a local newspaper. Her story of eternal December quickly spread around the world, becoming a symbol of hope and renewal. Professor Lee continued his astronomical research, and together they continued to explore strange phenomena related to time and space. But now they knew that even in the most mysterious and incomprehensible events, answers could be found. Maya often returned to that evening when the whole city came together to return time to normal. She realized that the importance of this moment lay not only in returning to normal life, but also in how much people can be connected to each other when they work together for a common goal. And although there were still many unexplored mysteries and adventures in Maya's life, she will always remember the lesson of eternal December, that time is not just the passage of a clock, but how we perceive it and appreciate every moment of our lives. Conclusion. From the story Eternal December, we learn that time is not just a sequence of days and nights, but a priceless resource that we can use for growth, development, and renewal. Every moment in life is an opportunity to create something new and beautiful. to strengthen bonds with the people around us, and to make our unique contribution to the world. Dear subscribers, happy upcoming 2024. May it be filled with bright moments, inspiration, and joyful events. We promise that the new year will bring lots of interesting content, amazing stories, instructive thoughts, and inspiring ideas. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, do it now so you don't miss anything interesting. And don't forget to like if you appreciate what we do. Together, we can make the next year unforgettable.